Hey everyone, it's Maddie. Before I jump into today's video, many of you may or may not have saw it, doesn't make a difference. I did put up a bonus video yesterday. Yesterday was a Thursday, so today's Friday for you guys, but this video is being filmed on Thursday. So today's video I put up was a bonus video showing you a day in the life of me going about managing my diabetes on February 12th, 2019. And I just wanted to clarify on a few things. First of all, I know it was a bit of a longer video, but I hope it really gave you an insight as to, for those of you that are newly diagnosed or manage your diabetes way differently than me, or if you're non-diabetic and you happen to be scrolling across this, that diabetes is a full-time job. We literally are an organ that isn't working, and we have to externally control our blood sugar, and that requires a lot of time, a lot of attention, and you can see all the preparation and the prep work that goes into diabetes management, from meal prepping to carb counting to insulin dosing to checking blood sugars, to make sure you're taking the right type of insulin. Like for me, if I mistakenly would have taken my rapid acting before I went to bed, I would have had a problem overnight. Watching my trends, looking at my Dexcom every hour and a half to see how things are trending and if I need to fix anything. Diabetes is a lot of work, and many people think, oh, diabetes is just nothing but taking insulin, and that's not the truth. There's so much more that goes into that. And I also wanted to point out too that you saw I made a couple mistakes. Like, first of all, I took a whole unit of insulin and wasn't expecting to do anything, but I changed my mind and ended up kind of riding low, so I was able to, thank God for Dexcom, because I was able to get a low blood sugar back up. A lowish blood sugar, I never actually went below 70 milligrams per deciliter, or below 4 millimoles. For those of you that use millimoles, I never went below that level. I was able to fix that, and then you saw my dinner. This particular meal, I have never had this combination of food before, the ice cream, chicken, broccoli, potato chips type meal. And I pre-bolused, and I shouldn't have, because I ended up going low. And it caused a whole bunch of problems. And you saw I made mistakes, but I made those mistakes and I moved on. I didn't let it drive me crazy. I just fixed it, and benefit-wise, I got to eat some Valentine's candy for that. I wanted to point out that I in no way, shape, or form am telling you how to eat, how to manage your diabetes, how to correct your blood sugar, or am I telling you that only my way is the correct way to manage diabetes. That is not the truth. This is the way I manage my diabetes. Things are going to be way different for me when I go to school. I may have higher blood sugars. I may have lower blood sugars. My body could change. I have no clue. You deal with it on a day-to-day basis, and that's all you can do. And like I said, I am not perfect. I am not a medical professional either. So I'm not trying to mislead you on any way, shape, or form of how to control your blood sugars, or what you can and can't eat, or what you can and can't take or do. I'm just trying to show what I do, and hoping that it might give you some inspiration maybe to look at yourself and move forward. But also, I hope I'm displaying things that maybe people haven't tried before, and oftentimes I've learned some of these tips from other people that are newly diagnosed or more experienced. Doesn't matter how much experience you have as far as learning different things. It's a matter of finding out what works for you. Obviously, I've learned a lot of things from people who are more newly diagnosed than me, and I've learned things from people who are more experienced than me and have had diabetes for more time than I have, and vice versa. I think a very experienced diabetic could say they could learn a lot from newly diagnosed patients too. So, we all learn from each other, we all grow with each other, and I think that's the beauty of this community, is that there's no one right way to manage your diabetes. There's no one right way to manage type 1 diabetes, and you just kind of roll with the flow. Don't beat yourself up on it, because you are trying to perfect an organ that should be working for you. The body is such a fine-tuned thing. We're trying to manage our blood chemistry, literally, because if our blood sugar goes out of whack, that can lead to acidic blood, diabetic ketoacidosis, and a lot of other damage in our bodies. So, like I said, I'm not trying to dissuade you from things, and even in other videos that I do where I'm stating facts that I have learned and my opinions, okay, I am not trying to hurt you or disinform you or offend you. take or leave what I'm saying. I'm a very analytical, research type person, and if you don't agree with something, that's fine. That's okay. I have not a problem with you disagreeing or doing something completely differently than what I do to manage my diabetes. It's fine. But, like I said, I've not really gotten a lot of hate yet, but don't hate on me for it. This is what I choose to do. This is the research I have learned from doctors. This is research that I have learned and stuff I've studied from you guys on Beyond Type 1. You guys sharing all your experiences. I've been able to learn and pick up maybe what I could do for myself or what I shouldn't do for myself, what might be better options for me, what might be worse options for me. We kind of learn from each other, and that's, like I said, this is the beauty of the whole thing. So before I rant on anymore, we'll jump into today's video. So you can see I was kind of riding on the higher blood sugar line today. Have not a clue why, but you know what, we're just going to roll with the punches. It's not that bad of a blood sugar. It's not like it's 200, and I had a lot of stuff today. So considering of all the food I ate and the combination of all the sweets and stuff, I will take a 150 any day. Hey everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. If you didn't watch the first part of this video, that's totally fine. It was kind of more of a rant. But anyways, I hope you checked out my day in the life. If you didn't, go ahead and check that out. It's just day in the life, type 1 diabetic. It's about an hour long, and the quality got uploaded in a little bit slower format. That was the only way I could get it to upload. As you probably can tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be delving into a couple pros, a couple cons about using half-unit insulin pens, and the fact that I've been on one for quite a while, and I'm just going to kind of share with you guys what do I think are the benefits of having one, what do I think are the, what's the opposite benefit? Well, what are the cons? What are the negatives about having one? And then also I'm going to show a clip of me actually changing out the cartridge. So first of all, I use the Humapen Luxura HD. You guys have seen this in my day in the life. You've probably seen this multiple times. But this is what I currently use for giving myself injections for meals and for correcting. I use Humalog. Many of you that might view this video might use Novolog, or you might use regular insulin. Fine. But that's what I use, and it's made by Eli Lilly. So, first of all, I'll kind of delve into what a half-unit pen does. So, for those of you that are on shots or on syringes, you know that, you can have either pens and syringes that are in full units that only mark to full units, or you can have pens and syringes that mark in half units. And, I started out with the Humalog pens, the quick pens with the whole units, and they eventually decided to transition me into half units after I mentioned something like, oh boy, I wish I could have like a little bit tighter control because I'm super sensitive. And she's like, oh, well, there's half unit pens, we can get you on one of those. Fantastic. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up going with, they ended up giving me this one. This particular pen, unlike the quick pens, is not disposable. It is an indisposable pen. You literally change out this glass cartridge that sits in this plastic sleeve, and it tells you how many units are left, and then you can dial in half units. Every click I go up is a half unit. So right now it is sitting at 2.5 units. So that's how you would do that. And I'll jump in more to the benefits first about using a half unit pen. So first of all, if you are an extremely insulin sensitive person like me, half unit pens are a way to go because you're going to get more precise dosing, you're going to get things nailed more to a T. It gives you a little more flexibility with carbs because, like for me, for example, if I want 45 carbs in the morning but I'm on a 1 unit per 10, if I had a whole pen, I could either only do 4 units or 5 units and risk going higher or lower. Rounding up, rounding down kind of thing. And sometimes your body doesn't really like that. At least my body doesn't. My body likes as precise as possible. So what the beauty of this is at a 1 unit per 10 carbohydrate ratio for breakfast, again, your ratios are going to be different. I'm using me as an example, and I want 45 carbs for breakfast, 4.5 units, perfect, it matches. There's less likely for me to skyrocket because I had round down, and there's less likely for me to plummet because I didn't have to round up. And the other benefit to using this is that there's a lot less waste. Obviously, you guys know when you throw away a whole pen, it's a whole plastic tool. I mean, there's bits and pieces to it that probably can be recycled, but I feel like it's just a huge environmental waste. So when you're done with this, all you do is you unscrew this and pull out the glass cartridge. The plunger will be pushed all the way to the top, and you slip a new one in, and it's that simple. It's definitely better on the environment. Now I'm going to get into the cons more specifically. I'm talking more about this type of reusable insulin pen. I'm not sure how Novo Nordisk, the company that makes Novolog, I have no clue how theirs functions, but at least with the Humalog pen, I'm going to talk about with the cartridges how I kind of feel about it. First of all, this pen is a little bit heavier than the plastic pens, and I feel like if I were to drop this that I would break it, so I feel like I have to be like more careful with it, and I just feel like it's more easy to break, I guess, because I feel like it's you constantly have to rely on this. It's not like a disposable pen where once it's gone, it's gone. If it breaks, you can take syringes and whatever. But this is a little bit heavier than like the typical disposable pens or syringes. So it can kind of get heavy at times, especially if you try to balance it like on your arm or your stomach. It can get kind of weebly wobbly. So when I hold it, I try to hold it like this, more like I'm gently trying to grasp a pen. I kind of let it sit in my hand when I give an injection, if that makes sense. And another con that I kind of talked about in my day of the life is when I showed you guys yesterday that the plunger wasn't going to push anymore. It won't, like, the turning dial won't stop. And that's because it's not an indisposable pen with a certain amount of plunge and a certain plastic shell that's a one-time use. That's the reason for it. So you guys could see that I could dial 6, 6.5, 7 units, and there wasn't that much left. And they can be kind of deceiving to maybe somebody who doesn't recognize that, and then find out they're giving themselves a big old air injection and they're not actually getting the proper dosing that they need. So I really don't like that this doesn't tell you that, but the main thing that I can tell you, the tip for you guys, is to watch when the plunger gets to this kind of reddish line. I don't know if you can really see it. There you go. This reddish line, and then you obviously got about 15 units that sit in the top below the rubber stopper that you can withdraw out from a syringe, so you're not throwing away excess insulin. You guys got to see me do that yesterday. And then another con, it can be pro, could be a con, is remembering to change out the cartridge. And maybe some people that aren't super the dexterity isn't good or whatever and are on pens, they might have a harder time changing the cartridge out, but I don't see an issue with that. I also like that it came with a case so that you could keep it protected, and I like that the case has room for needles, and then I also put in here the date that the insulin is going to expire, because on the disposable pens I write when the date is actually going to expire for 30 days. So I have until March 13, 2019 to use up this insulin. A Humalog cartridge or a Humalog pen lasts me between 19 and 21 days, and basal insulin lasts me between 29 and 30 days. So I do pretty good as far as using up all my insulin in a timely fashion, but also not wasting a single drop because insulin is extremely expensive. So this is kind of some basic pros and cons behind half unit pens and such. And like I said, when I bought my syringes, because I don't use a lot of them, I buy mine off of Amazon for like 30 bucks. It gets me like 100 or 150 of them, and that'll last me quite a while because I'm only using a few of them a month. It'll last me quite a few weeks. So when I buy my syringes, I also make sure I buy my syringes in half units so that I can dial more precisely. I would recommend these to anybody, but I would especially recommend them to people like myself who are extremely insulin sensitive, and for whatever reason, your body just doesn't respond to giving yourself a little more or giving yourself a little less. And if you're like me, having that kind of OCD personality, you want to keep things precise, this is perfect. It gives me a lot less worry that I'm going to, oh my gosh, I'm going to go low because I had to overdo the insulin. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go high because I had to underdo the insulin. So it gives you more of a peace of mind. Now, I have 2 more times that I will be using this Humapen Luxura HD. I'll have one more switch out, and then I will be transitioning to the Humalog Junior Quick Pens, which are disposable quick pens like the Humalog Quick Pen, but the Junior allows for dialing in half units, so it's basically the equivalent of having Humalog for a kid. That's why they call it Junior, so that when young kids are diagnosed and they're ultra insulin sensitive, even maybe more sensitive than me, they can get more precise dosing and such. So, but like I said, I'd recommend half units for anybody, even if you aren't super insulin sensitive, but you just want more precise dosing. Talk to your doctor. I opened my mouth up like literally 3 weeks after I was diagnosed. She goes, "Oh, there's a solution for that. We can get you a half unit pen." And I said, "What? There's a half unit pen? Cool." So open up your mouth at your endocrinology appointments. Push for CGMs, push for pumps. That's what I'm doing. Push for the best for yourself, because there are more easier things out there. You just have to be willing to open and ask about them, especially if your endocrinologist isn't as concerned with it. I wouldn't say that's an issue with me, but I definitely talk about things for the future with my endocrinologist, just because obviously there are certain tools that like I said, I'm eventually going to transition to a pump. I'm going to talk about more of that maybe in March for you guys about that, March, April-ish, when I'm going to be starting the process of filling out paperwork and hopefully getting on a pump before I go to school. It's not like I don't like shots. Don't get me wrong, the shots really don't bother me. But I think the pump comes with a few convenient factors that you can't really control with shots. And again, I'm going to explain that more as I go forward. But anyways, I wanted to show you guys kind of some pros and cons about half-unit insulin pens. I recommend them for anybody. But now I'm going to give you a quick clip of me actually changing it out. And it'll switch to a voiceover on all the steps you need to change out a Humapen Luxura HD.
So the first thing you see me doing here is pushing back on the little rubber stopper to put it back in. There is the brand new cartridge. You got to peel it almost out of like a little shell. And as you can tell, it took me a while to get it out. And I apologize for my hand in the way, but that's the way it was. So that's what it looks like, kind of poking it out of its little shell. You can tell once you get it out, I just kind of pull it out into my hand like that so that it doesn't like bust. Once you get it out, you can see it's glass and it's brand new, fresh from the fridge. That's what it looks like. Then what you're going to do is grab that plastic sleeve and put the glass cartridge inside. I'm kind of OCD, so I lined up the word Humalog into that little gapped spot. Make sure it's pushed all the way as far as it can go. Then you're going to take your bottom and you're going to screw it back on until it's completely tight, and you're good to go. I'll put the cap back on, and it's ready to go back in its case.
So anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I am enjoying having every single one of you on my channel. I've had a lot of fun interacting with you guys. Also remember to comment down below any video suggestions you have for me. I don't care if they're diabetes related, non-diabetes related. I'm open up to pretty much anything. Especially any controversial topics you want me to talk about, because every single month, at the first of the month, I do a T1D with Maddie, where I sit down and I discuss more of the controversial type 1 diabetes topics. I give you my opinions, and I give you the facts I have learned from online or medical resources that I have seen. So feel free to check those videos out if you haven't. And once I get to 100 subscribers, I will be sharing with you my type 1 diabetes diagnosis story. I was kind of thinking about this yesterday. It's kind of making me kind of nervous and excited at the same time, because I'm really going to be putting some things out there that you may have not known about my diagnosis, kind of what led up to it, and especially for any of my family that may be watching this. I really didn't feel good for the longest time. So I'll end it at that, and I kind of wish I would have gotten help sooner. But anyways, until tomorrow's video, take care, God bless, be kind, spread positivity, and be thankful. Bye, everyone. And happy Valentine's Day. I've gotten my Valentine's themed necklace. Enjoy some candy today, eat some sweets, eat some treats. I've done that, and, you know, we're just coasting in the higher blood sugar ranges right now. But I might take a correction here pretty soon, as it's almost been 2.5 hours since I've taken a shot. So I might do a small correction with a half a unit just to bring it down and get myself back to more normal blood sugars. But anyways, happy Valentine's Day.